Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today, I'm reviewing a coin. Actually, I'm refreshing a coin that I reviewed a few months ago back for Altcoinopoly. It was a coin for subscribers, but now I'm bringing it out to the forefront to not just to introduce or reintroduce Populous, that's the coin PPT, to the masses, but also to refresh some things that may have been overlooked but are coming to light in a lot of different ways and becoming a major factor, no pun intended, to the area of invoice factoring. Now, invoice factoring is an area of finance that banks do a lot, and it works for smaller companies where they may take, they'll ship a product, but they get paid 60, 90, maybe 120 days after the product is received by larger players that can play games with their capital. So for example, if you're mom and pop LLC and you're selling something to Walmart, Walmart may take you 2, 3, 4 months to pay you for stuff that you not only you bought the materials for, you created it, you built it, you shipped it, and now it's on the shelves of Walmart, you still haven't gotten paid for it. So to make up for that, there's an area of finance called invoice factoring, or for your accounts receivable. So you have an invoice, from same analogy, you have an invoice from Walmart. You're not paid by Walmart yet, but you can go to the bank with that and say, Walmart's going to pay me for this. Here's my invoice. And they'll lend you, or they'll give you, or they'll basically buy that invoice for you for about somewhere between 90 and 98 cents on the dollar, depending on how good of a contract it is. Typically what I'm hearing is it's more like 96, 97% from really strong purchasers, but it can get even worse than that. You can get it down into 80%. And I'm going to link of some videos up here from the Economic Ninja that's going to talk about invoice factoring and the fact that trucking industry is being really hamstrung right now because there's some invoice factoring companies that are going belly up. So could the decentralization and democratization of invoice factoring be the solution? Should we put in this blockchain? Maybe Populous is the answer. So stay tuned for the news and the older chart, and of course I'll refresh the chart as well. And then I'll add my conclusions as we wrap up this review of Populous.
Just a quick reminder that nothing in this video is considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Seek out your own advice and do your own diligence, do your own research. Okay, so it's time to dive into a coin called Populous. Now, for those of you who are a little bit old school, you probably know what this coin is because it was very popular back in 2016, 2017, but it's been pretty stagnant since then until last December. But for me, it's a nice project to take a home run swing on, and that's the category I put it in. This is one you can throw some, not financial advice, but if you want to dabble in it, or the potential for 10x or higher, it's certainly there. So first off, what is the coin? Populous, what do? They are involved in invoice financing. If you do not know what that is, let me explain it to you. Basically, think of a small business or a medium-sized business, and they get invoices. In other words, they sell a product, they ship it to a customer, and then they bill them an invoice. They send them an invoice and say, you pay us money for what we just sent you. Now, those invoices have terms. They could be net 30, net 60, net 90, all the way up to net 180. But let's say it's 30, 60, or 90 days. That means that the person you ship the goods to has 30, 60, or 90 days to pay you for those goods. They owe you money. That's accounts receivable, accounts payable type transactions that businesses have to do. So what some companies do is they have to manage their cash flow very tightly. So if you have a $10,000 invoice hanging out there for 90 days that maybe Walmart or another big person or big company is agreed to buy it, those goods, maybe you can't wait all 90 days. And I'm like, I would like to have, maybe you think I would rather have $9,000 today versus $10,000 90 days from now. So what you could used to be able to do, and this is a big section of what banking is currently doing, is you would go to a local bank and say, here's my invoices. You know my business. I would do business with this bank, and they would buy that invoice from you for a discount. So they give you $9,000 today, knowing they would get $10,000 from a known creditor that's strong like Walmart, and they'd say, I can wait 90 days for 10 grand for cost of 9 grand today. So that's what invoice financing is. What Populous is attempting to do and has done for the last several years, just on a very limited scale, is bring that out of the banking sector into the private sector. So if you wanted to go on to Populous's website and buy these invoices, you can personally. So you could say, I've got $9,000. I'll buy an invoice that's worth 90 days from now, because that's a 10% return for 90 days. That's like 40+% per year. If I do 4 of those a year, I'm making good money. So that's what some people want to do. They want to become the bank. That's another way to be the bank. That's what Populous does. So I'm starting this video off in a little bit of a different order. I just want to show you that this is a total risk reward type coin. Here's the chart of this coin for the last 5 years. Now, this should probably scare most of you, because it set a record. This is in BTC. I'm going to switch it real quick to USD. There we go. And you can see it had set an all-time high of roughly $75. There's some wicks here which may or may not have happened depending on which this is an aggregate look, but for all intents and purposes, the all-time high was $75, and now the coin is under 3. So, which is actually a good sign, because the coin was below $1 at one point. So it lost 99% of its value at one point. But as you can see here, that there was some activity recently that drew some more interest, both in the middle of 2019, but really in the last 6 months. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, and why I think this is a coin to watch, and why it is associated with the DeFi sector, which is really taking off in the last year. And this was one of the first real DeFi coins. So as part of my homework that I like to do, I started to dig back through some older YouTubes, and I'm just going to share these. I'll put them in the description, but I'm not sure how valuable they will be. But just from a historical YouTuber standpoint, I thought they were kind of entertaining. So when I went through a lot of these videos, you could see a lot of them, very few videos were less than a year old. But going way back, there's BitBoy here from June of 2018. Nothing against him, but he looks like he just kind of, just rolled out of a frat boy party. But that was his look back then. And then there's Lark Davis, and Lark has a great, huge following now, but Lark's image has certainly matured since the time of this video. I'll just leave it at that. So not to speak of my appearance or my style just yet, which is everyone's evolving, but it's kind of interesting to see where Lark was at back then. Now, an interesting video popped up. All of the videos that popped up were like, this coin can moon, that sort of thing. But there was a good article from Coin Central way back from 2018 about what Populous does, and I will also put this in the description. Again, it talks about the invoice financing and kind of goes through what they do and how they this was $2.20 back then. Just talked about the problem they were trying to solve, how they were trying to decentralize finance, take it. The invoice financing was at one point roughly 80% of a bank's business. That's what the market has said. So it is a big business, both for small businesses and also for the banking industry. To privatize that and make it decentralized, this is a big effort for the Populous project to take on. Now, it's not all roses here, so let me continue to go through the news, and then we'll talk about some things about the team. So, Economic Ninja pointed out something recently at the end of the year, December 31st. This is how some people work. This is how he spent his New Year's Eve. He found a video about decentralized finance of Populous and decided to share it. What it was a report that Populous commissioned that audited their own books and their own blockchain. And it was a pretty significant return. That's actually their pinned tweet. Here's their Twitter page at BitPopulous. And here's the audit report. The audit report, you can just click on this and it'll go right through it. And it's a mixed review. It's a decent review, but not stellar, but not terrible. They were kind of middle of the road in what your blockchain was doing in your smart contracts. But the point was that Populous was being fully transparent, and that's been sort of one of the hang-ups with this project over time. The person that's in charge of Populous is actually named Steve Nico. And Steve Nico, he's got a little bit of a checkered past. That's just I will give you the good with the bad. Steve Nico at one point was in jail, And it was because of something he did in the financial sector where, I don't know if it's insider trading, I'm not exactly sure what the charges were, but he served his time and he was accused and convicted of something not great in the financial sector. But that's why they did the audit. Like, he's been trying to be above board ever since he got involved with Populous. So if you dig through how Populous has been going back to the chart again, you can see that it started way back before 2017 and has continued to evolve. So it's been around for 4 years. And Steve Nico's been with the project the entire time. The GitHub still remains active. You can see that they're still doing contracts as recent as 8 days ago. There's been visibility to this project throughout the several years, but the real pickup was in December, where not only did this report came out, but also talk of the particular PPT, the DeFi sector, where the DeFi getting really popular, no pun intended, but DeFi, and I believe that Populous has some intellectual property that they're working with and trying to push forward, and they're trying to get more and more involved in the DeFi sector because it's such a hot market right now, and they really should be one of the classic projects to emulate because their use case is solid. It's a proven use case. All they're doing is mimicking what banks already do and small businesses as well, and creating a different marketplace. So I think this project has some merit. I think there's a lot of upside, not a ton of downside. So it's worth a risk. No financial advice here. But if you're willing to take a gamble on a particular coin in the DeFi space of something that's been around for a while but might be overlooked, Populous might be a good coin to look at because they have been making some moves in the last 6 months, and they're about to launch something that could be quite interesting. They're going to be launching what they call Pop DeFi. So here is the one tweet right here in the middle. It's someone who follows them closely, Pop DeFi, who quoted Steve Nico that said, the protocol for decentralized finance, Pop DeFi, will be going live this weekend. They're even doing a larger launch any day now. I believe it's going to happen. Something more significant is coming out in June, which is part of the reason why I want to get Populous out there to the subscribers at this time. That's the news on this coin. Now let's take a look at the charts. So as mentioned before, the big picture chart is pretty ugly, right? Just to be honest about it. And it's looking at this. This is a coin. It was huge in 2017, 2018, and then it just rolled off the table, completely fell off the table. Oh. And then it just rolled off the table. It completely fell off the table. They lost 98, 99% of their value. But things are starting to emerge again. You could see this candle in mid-December as their audit was coming out, as the DeFi news was coming out that they're going to be leading the charge in the DeFi sector and kind of rebranding, repositioning themselves. It ran up to, we're going to zoom in now on the last 6 months to a year because I think that's a better indication of where this coin is headed. So this is a view of the last year. You can see that the coin against Bitcoin was actually increasing. There's the spike in volume of interest in December. It started to go upwards, and then it started to trail back down in the April-May timeframe, as most of the altcoins have been doing. In terms of U.S. dollars in similar time frame, you can see again that spike, and again this move upwards, and then this move back down in the last month or so. By using a Fibonacci retracement here, if you consider this a wave 1 followed by a wave 2, wave 3 could take this coin past its previous 2021 high of $7 into the $10 to $15 range. And you're buying this coin, if you're buying it, no financial advice, you're buying it under $3. So at 2.5, reasonable upside of 7, that's nearly a triple. $10 is a quadruple, and it could go up 6x pretty reasonably based on what the chart is telling me, especially if they get a new marketplace, more DeFi acceptance, and the team is really gets this kicking into high gear. So the downside risk to me is probably around $1 to $2. So yes, you could lose half of your money probably if you invested in this today. But you can go up 4x or 5x or even more, and that's what you call an asymmetric market. And you're looking for a bigger upside than downside. So to me, as a risk reward possibility, this is a a strong coin to consider, especially if you want to have maybe a DeFi coin that's a little off the board, a little off the track, and not in the limelight just yet. You might be grabbing Populous at just the right time.
So real briefly, I wanted to add something before I get into the current charts. And I wanted to add this article, which may have been overlooked last time. It's from FinTech News. It's a story from September of 2020 that Populous World is launching their Populous crypto exchange. So this is a competitor to a lot of different exchanges. And the reason I made the allusion to another coin, Veritasium, was delisted from a number of different exchanges and very hard to obtain because they launched an exchange to compete with the exchanges. So is Populous going down that same road? So the reason I mention that is that Dick Allgeier just mentioned that they are being removed from Binance. He mentioned that video a couple days ago at the end of September here. I'm September 25th when I'm recording today. But you're going to see in the chart of the impact of that. But the fact that the Populous invoice platform PIP is being launched, it was launched roughly a year ago, and now Populous is going to become harder and harder to get. So we're going to talk about the video. Well, I'll make mention of it that the invoice factoring is a big deal. We have trucking invoice factoring companies that are not working anymore. Economic Ninja was mentioning that. So those two videos are very relevant today, which lead me to talk about Populous. So let's look quickly at the charts. We're not really going to learn anything from the charts today. Here's the chart of the year to date. Don't need that right now. But on the previous chart, I was saying that how this could get to $10 or $15, which it still can. But this is basically a fire sale. The volume has really spiked up in the last couple of days. Let me zoom in the 1 month view. I just wanted to show you that in the larger scale of things, we're down below $1, which is pretty much bargain basement bin right now. I could do a 5-year chart and you could see the coin has been below $1 before, but it has not been below $1 since last December. So now here we're back again. We've gone all the way up to 6 and we're pulling back down. We have heavy volume. I'm going to show the monthly chart. Let me zoom in. Let's do a 1 hour chart. Hopefully that, of course, it won't recalibrate well. But you can see as I try to recalibrate this. Look at these volume spikes. These huge volume spikes on the 24th, where Binance announced that they were going to be delisting Populous. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just makes it like the largest exchange delisting you. That's technically would not look good. But in a decentralized universe, this could be an opportunity, much like what XRP had to endure with the whole Coinbase delisting and the SEC issues. So the chart is similar for Populous against Bitcoin. You can see again the big divot on the 23rd, 24th, after so many ads. After we had the announcement from Binance. So take it for what it's worth. If you were interested in Populous before, it's certainly a very, very good entry point. Not financial advice, of course, but if you were wanting to get into Populous, it's a good time to get into it right now, considering it's on sale. So there's the coin for today. It's Populous. Again, there's the everything about the charts. It's being delisted from Binance. That's the other video I'm going to put up here in the corner from Dick Allgeier. He happened to mention that in his news on how Bitcoin died again or is banned again by yet another country. I won't say which one. It's a prominent one in Asia. I don't want to get this video flagged, but you get what I'm saying. So watch that video. It's only 5 minutes long. The Economic Ninja one I mentioned earlier, which I can only tag it once, but it'll be in the information block that pops up. That's about 18 minutes, but they're both worth watching just to get an idea of what's going on in the trucking industry and the fact that Binance is now delisting Populous because Populous is essentially competing with banks in the financial system. So now you're going to have a harder time getting Populous. The way to get it going forward is either to use like engines on my site that have simple swap. That's one option, or just you go into your Exodus wallet and buy something like Litecoin. This is not financial advice. Remember that. You can get a coin like Litecoin and just exchange it within the Exodus wallet for Populous because Populous is supported in the Exodus wallet. You can store it there as well. So if you're interested in getting Populous, that's how you do it. But I really like the fact that they are solving a problem in the financial sector that's needed by smaller businesses. This invoice factoring matters a lot. There are other companies that are also working on other blockchain solutions where trucking companies will get paid when the load is deposited or placed or delivered to that end customer. And it's when they take delivery, that's it, they have to pay for it. Whether they accept those terms or not is a different story, but I don't see Walmart or Target or other companies doing that anytime soon, but smaller players will take that. So a lot said today. I think Populous, I mentioned it before, is a solid coin. I think I gave it a 3. Could be moving into the 3.5 range. It's certainly a little bit more speculative, but at the price it's at, I think it's my own opinion, just a guy talking on the internet, not financial advice. Populous is worth, taking a shot at if you've got a little bit of, if you've got a little bit of dry powder. May not be worth, it might be worth adding to your stockpile as a potential what if. It's a coin that could take off in the future because they've already built the engine. They had that Populous Invoice World or Populous Invoice Platform or PIP that was launched last September. I'll put that link in the description. But they have an exchange now that's out there for these invoices. It exists. It's a real world application. And it could very well be at the forefront because it's looking to be something that the real world needs now. So a lot said today. I'm going to close the door on the bureau and I'll see you next time.